What is up, y'all? It is your girl Jice. We are here for Black Dollar Saturday, and I'm starting a little bit late, so I apologize. I had a technical difficulty, but we are getting ready to get started with Black Dollar Saturday. Y'all know what it is. We come in every third Saturday representing Black Dollar Saturday with the Brother Jeff Cultural Center. Of course, we are here virtual due to the ever-present coronavirus, but I want to go ahead and make sure that we get started. Today, you got me. And I'm going to talk about how we finished the fourth quarter strong. So y'all know we just came off of the Black Boss Summit. It was phenomenal. Thank you for everyone who came out and supported the Black Boss Summit. Thank you for everyone who participated. The feedback has just been amazing. And of course, we were out there hosting our first full virtual summit. It was quite an experience, exhilarating in many ways, and we were just excited to get out there and make sure that we stay present and relevant in the community. So thank you for working with us, being a part of that experience, making sure that you got what you needed, and making sure that you gave us relevant feedback. So we were excited about that. So I want to talk about finishing the fourth quarter strong. It's Black Dollar Saturday, and we're getting ready to head into the fourth quarter of 2020. And we know 2020 has been quite a year. So how do you finish strong? Whether you have picked up business and you are, wanting to keep your momentum, or if things have been stagnant, or things could be really up and down. So in all cases, we're going to talk a little bit about how you do that here in the fourth quarter. So y'all know I don't like to PowerPoint nobody to death. I have a few things I'm going to share on my screen here, and we're going to pretty much jump right in. See if I can throw that up here. Bam. All right. Are we good with that? Let me get over to that so that we can go ahead and get started. So like I said, I want to talk about finishing strong. Hey, Latasha Bell, thank you, sis. I appreciate that. Hello, Miss Dolores. It has been a while. It hasn't been a while. We've been on, but it has been a while since I've been on solo by myself. So you have that part. But welcome. So we're just going to talk about finishing strong in the fourth quarter. Y'all know how I am. I'm super competitive, but I'm competitive for our people. I'm competitive about our people winning. And so we want to talk about finishing strong in the fourth quarter because we know how we do. It's getting ready to be the holidays. It's already been a really tough year. It's been very emotional in a lot of ways. We know a lot of businesses have been shut down. We know that our community has experienced a lot of death. We know that our community has experienced a lot of struggles with the things that we've always struggled with. But now it's like the rest of the country is, kind of catching wind. And that brings an additional war, right? It doesn't mean that just because people are aware that everyone's on our side. So we've seen that with the protests. We've seen people who have cared more about buildings and property than they have about our Black brothers and sisters being shot down in the streets and in their beds. And so I think this year has just been particularly tough, even if in business you have been winning. So I want to address that, and I want to talk about how we finish strong. And I am taking the stance here from a business perspective because that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about how we grow our businesses and how we grow strong economic presence. But I never, ever want to forget what it looks like, what it feels like just to be Black every day in America. And sometimes that's tough. Almost all the time it's tough. And I've seen as much as we've seen a lot of the hurt and the pain and the suffering of our people, I've also seen so much unity this year. And that has been inspiring and it's been empowering. And so I know that has not been our story all the time, but it is something that I'm seeing more and more. And so I'm optimistic, to say the least. So anyway, so I just want to get into what we're getting ready to talk about today, which is finishing strong in the fourth quarter. So the first thing is, when we're coming up on the fourth quarter, let me actually go back a little bit. When we're coming up on the fourth quarter, can everybody see my screen? I don't know why it looks like my screen is, give me 1 second here, because I don't think y'all are seeing what I'm seeing. And that's why I said these technical difficulties. Let me share my screen back out again and see if we can actually get my PowerPoint slide to be up. My apologies, y'all. Give me 1 second. There we go. Let's try that again. Okay, now y'all can see what we're saying. All right. 4 tips to finish strong. So first of all, I want to just talk about what I even mean by fourth quarter, because if you're not business minded and when fourth quarter doesn't like turn something on in you, then I need you to get on track, right? So, a year is broken up into 4 quarters. You run in Q1 being strong. You want to hold that momentum through Q2, Q3, and then fourth quarter, you've got to finish strong. One, you want that momentum to carry on into the next year. And God, we need an amazing 2021. It's time for us to get innovative. It's time for us to think in different ways. And I'm seeing that in so many spaces, but I'm not seeing that in all spaces. Like there are certain spaces I tip into where I see the innovation and the drive and it's phenomenal. And then there are other spaces where I'm like, oh, so we just still doing things business as usual, but it's not business as usual. We're never going back to business as usual. Business as usual wasn't doing all that well for us in the first place. So we really got to come out of that space, right? But with 2020 being as painful and as difficult as it has been, and I keep saying that because it's really important for us to recognize that 41% or an estimated 41% of our businesses look like they may be shut down for good in 2020. And that is a huge number. That's almost half of our businesses. And so it's really important for us to recognize that we have to innovate, push through, go harder, get stronger. And we already know that the systems are set up against us. So when you are Black in business, and this is why I always say it's hard to it's hard to have a business, right? Like starting a business, having a business, growing a business, those things are hard. Starting a Black business, right? That takes community. It takes all of us to work together because the systems are set up against us. So not only do you have to work against just the natural trials of what it takes to bring a vision into fruition and make it grow and make it scale, then you also have to, face the fact that we struggle to access capital, that there are biases against buying from people in the Black community, that we don't have access to funding resources. We don't always have access to the networks that we need. And so, a lot of times we still hear this narrative in 2020, like, oh, I'm the first or I'm the only. You should not be the first or the only Black person in anything at this point, right? And so we have to continue to open up doors. We have to continue to push through. We have to continue to bring our brothers and sisters along for this journey as we grow and as we get bigger and as we have access. And so when I think about fourth quarter, I'm always thinking about how do we run into these last 3 months of the year, the months when everyone gets to start shutting down, the months when the weather starts changing, the months when the holidays start coming out, and all your friends and all your family who don't own nothing, who are 9-to-5ers, who are about to get a paycheck regardless, who may be experiencing loss and mental health issues, who may be experiencing loneliness, who may be experiencing family issues going on at this time, and all of the different things, whether it's good and you've got friends that are trying to celebrate and go out and have drinks every night and Christmas parties, coronavirus be damned, and all of that, or you're on the whole other side, right? And it's a troubling time and it's sad and you might not have the family or you might have lost someone. How do you take all of that and keep pushing? Because at the end of the day, we're still talking about how we win, not just in our lifetime, but 7 generations, right? So y'all know we got our 7 Generations Black podcast up and running. And that is the mindset that we have to have, not just in business, but in everything that we do, is how do we think 7 generations down the line? So I get it. It's hard. I'm not the best person for sympathy. I'm not the best person for even, sympathy is not the right word. I'm not the best person for empathy. Sympathy I'm like team go get it, team no excuses. I don't know. So that's just the way that I feel, despite the number of trials and things like that I've experienced, or even that those around me are experiencing. We try to be there for our mental health, and then we acknowledge like we still got to go, we still got to keep pushing. So that's my experience. I don't push anybody to have that same experience as me, but just to give you the mind frame in which I come from. So we're going to talk about 4 tips to finishing strong in the fourth quarter. And the first one is to go hard. You've got to be doing what you should have been doing all year. The difference is in fourth quarter, time is not on your side. And so if you're already talking about, oh, I'm just going to wait until 2021, that's the wrong conversation. You should absolutely be planning 2021. Me and my team are already thinking about what we're doing in January, February, March. We're already thinking about 2021. However, what we're not talking about doing is putting nothing on pause until 2021. Nothing is stopping, right? So we're thinking about what should we have been doing all year long, and then recognizing that time is not on our side. So we've really got to go hard. If you have not hit your goals, if you have not achieved what you want to have achieved for this year, then it's not the time to slow down and say, let me pause and let me wait and let me hold on and let me just put myself in a good position to jump out and do this next year. That's not the time. That's not what we're doing. What you really need to do, if you really want to finish fourth quarter strong, is you've got to go harder, and you've got to think about what you should have been doing all year. And again, just acknowledging how hard all year has been. It has been tough. Some of you, like I remember when the lockdown started happening, and all of a sudden people were like, I don't know how you do it, right? With the kids and homeschool and business and all that. And I'm like, with a whole hell of a lot of grace, y'all, that's how I do it, because it's hard. So what should have happened over the last 6 months is you should have been putting systems in place, and you should have been working out how to do these things. Not saying I can't do these things, not saying I can't work with my kids, or I can't do my business because of coronavirus. It's how am I going to do my business despite the lockdowns? How am I going to pivot and position my business? How am I going to do business with my children, or with my family, or from home, or without my office space, or without my storefront, or whatever the case might be? So do what you should have been doing all year long, but recognize in fourth quarter, this is the last 3 months, and it goes by really quickly. So time is not on your side. So when I talk about going hard, you've got to go hard. Okay. So that's one. The second thing is you have to assess and review. What this means is you need to spend some time measuring your performance year to date. And I like to do with something is called an after action review. I actually learned this in the military, but once leaving the military, I found out that in some places in corporate America, they actually do these things. So in some places you can do what's called an after action review. I've heard it called a start, stop, continue. So an SSC, I've heard them being called a few things, but ultimately you've got to spend some time measuring your performance year to date. You do not know what you need to adjust, shift, move around if you haven't spent some time taking an assessment of your challenges, reviewing your successes, and then thinking about where you are. So from January to September, where are you getting ready to head into that fourth quarter? Where are you? Review where you are. Sometimes this means having to have like some for real pillow talk, right? Or a come to Jesus moment, like we like to say. And that means that you have to ask yourself what you could have done better. You have to ask yourself, what are your challenges? You have to ask yourself, what have you learned? You have to ask yourself, how can you improve? You also have to have some time to congratulate yourself for your wins. So don't go too hard on one side or too hard on the other side, because some of y'all be trying to congratulate yourselves and y'all ain't done nothing. Okay, so y'all just happy that you survived, and that's a feat all in itself. But if we're going to talk about how we really move and make exponential growth, that can't be the measure, right? So some of y'all be congratulating yourselves long before you should be congratulating yourselves. On the other side, some of y'all are so hard on yourselves, you won't even acknowledge what where you have won. So you have to spend some time both seeing what lessons you have learned, what challenges you have faced, what marks you haven't hit. And then on the other side, Make sure that you are looking at what you have done, where you have excelled, where you have hit the mark, where you have excelled, what you have completed, and put all of that together and come up with some tangible, actionable steps as to how you need to move forward. So don't go too hard on one side, don't go too hard on the other side. I don't like to talk a whole lot about balance, but this is definitely a place that you need some balance in your approach to how you assess where you are and review where you are year to date, and think about that in the form of a review. And this is not this review isn't to pat yourself on the back, and it's also not to critique you. It's to figure out where you are. So it's really important that you think about or acknowledge where you are in your overall plan, what you were intending to do, what you actually did, and then figure out some of those reasons why. Think about what you need to do in order to, shift and make those adjustments. Also, where you started out at the beginning of this year is most likely, in a lot of cases, not where you're going to continue going, right? So you may have started out with a plan. Hopefully you started out with a plan at the top of 2020. Really, at the end of 2019, you should have had a plan. In 2020, you should have been ready to execute. Obviously, by March, that plan most likely was significantly altered. So you have to take that into consideration inside of your entire review process. Don't discount that. Don't just throw it all to the wind like, oh, well, all of this doesn't matter anymore because, this pandemic, and we had protests, and we had, civil unrest, and we had all this political drama going on, and all of these other things, to include those who may have gotten sick, to include those who may have lost family members, or friends. And so when you're thinking about that, include that in the process. Those are legitimate, things that you need to be able to include as to where you are and why you are there. But your point is, again, not to necessarily pat yourself on the back. Like, you want to congratulate yourself, right? I hope I'm not contradicting myself. You want to congratulate yourself on your wins. You want to acknowledge your losses. But the point of the review is to determine where you are and why you're there. So it's really not to say, yeah, I did great, or to beat yourself up on the things that you didn't do great on. If you're thinking about how you're going to finish strong, how you're going to carry momentum going into the next year, you have to start with assessing where you are now. So that is the point of the assessment and the review, is to measure your performance year to date and then take into account all those things that happened, whether good or bad, that got you to where you are. All right, so that's number 2. So 1 is go hard, 2 is assess and review. 3 is to strategize. So once you figure out where you are, and that's why it's really important to do that step first, right? Is where are you? And then now you can think about how you're going to strategize your way all the way through and build that momentum going into the next year. Remember that achievement is the result of choices and determination. And so when you're thinking about the success that you want to have, it is going to be a result of your choices, and it's going to be a determination for you not to allow the circumstances of this year to slow you down from achieving what it is that you want to achieve. So one of those really key things is going to be what you say no to. It's not always what you say yes to, it's what you say no to. And again, recognizing in fourth quarter, and why fourth quarter is so hard, y'all. Like, fourth quarter is you played 3 quarters strong, right? Think about it like sports. You done played 3 quarters strong. You tired. It's about to be the holiday season, and you're ready to rest. You're ready to shut down. You're ready to rejuvenate, right? And you're ready to start eating some cake. You're ready to start thinking about how you're going to hang out at some parties and whatever else it is that you're going to be doing. You have to think about what you're going to say no to, because everyone else's life is not your life. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a dreamer, if you're a visionary, if you have a passion and a purpose and something that you're working towards, recognize that most of the people in your circle are not those people. Even when you keep yourself around a lot of entrepreneurs, like I am in a circle, my friends are basically all entrepreneurs. So there is a squad, a tribe, a group of folks that I am with, and that I hang out with, and that I spend time with, that are all on that same type of level like I am or above. We're all moving in one trajectory, right? But that's not my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, my aunts and uncles, my cousins. That's not, some of the friends that my children have. That's not my neighbors. That's not a good portion of the community members. So even when your tribe is like keeping it together, right, there are still people in your space that are not going to be on that same track as you. And there's going to be a lot of things that are going on and around to distract you. So remember what side of this you're on. When it's the holiday season, if you're an entrepreneur, that's not the time for you to take off. That's the time for you to go hard, because that's the time when everybody is buying. That's the time when everybody is looking for something. That's the time when people are ready to spend some dollars. So you need to be positioned in order to get those dollars, right? So as the entrepreneur, you can't close shop to go to the Christmas party. You can't close shop to go and shop on Black Saturday or Black Friday, and Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday, right? Your business is making sure you're primed and ready to take in dollars for that business. You need to be working on your marketing strategy. You need to be thinking about getting all of your supplies. Y'all know the post office is slow right now. Shipments are coming in and have been coming in slow. So the whole supply chain has been wrecked by, the COVID-19 pandemic. So are you making sure that you're fully stocked so that you're ready to sell when all of your friends and family and other people that are in your, immediate circle, when they're ready to buy? Are you ready to sell? So you have to be strategizing and thinking about how you're going to get to your next level of success. And that is a direct result of the choices that you're going to make and the determination that you have to finish out this year strong, and be thinking about how you carry momentum from fourth quarter into the top of the year, not how you start fresh and start new at the top of the year. All right. So you're going to have to start thinking about the ways and the things and the ways to say no. All right. So now the next thing, the last thing, is to execute. I told you it was 4 things. You got to go hard. You've got to assess. You've got to strategize, and then you have to execute. And that probably sounds like real simple, but as we talked about, if you were part of the summit, you heard, right? Don't look for a magic key. There isn't a magic key. I started off by saying the way you finish strong in fourth quarter is by doing what you should have been doing all year long. But now it's the fourth quarter. Now time isn't on your side. Now you're tired. Now you've been beat up all year long, and you've got to find it within you, within your choices, within your decisions, within your determination, to find the strength inside of you to execute. Many are going to dream of success. Y'all know we have an annual vision board party every year. It's still going to happen this year. More details on that will come. But we have a vision board party every year. And what I talk to people about is making sure that you are equipped and primed with the resources to make your vision go. But what's the most interesting is those who sit down and think about what they want to have happen for 2021 versus those who have a continuous process of putting something on a vision board, working towards it, executing, making it happen, and continue to cycle new things. So when I see people's vision boards become either the same thing over and over, right? New pictures, but the same thing, or just an elaborate bunch of just stuff that they wish, visions and dreams that they wish that they could have. And I'm like, oh, so what happened with your board last year? That's one of my favorite questions to ask people when I'm talking to them at the vision board party. What happened last year? How did it go? How did your vision board go? And when they're like, oh, a couple things happened, or I started working on some stuff, or I'm getting closer, I'm like, see, I know that y'all not executing. Y'all not serious. Many will dream of success. Few will do the work to actually make it a reality, because you have to be disciplined in order to be successful. So as this time is coming up, as we're thinking about getting into going into the next year, as we are going into this holiday season, as we are going into the wind down season, right? You have to be disciplined enough as an entrepreneur in order to execute. You can't execute without having a plan. If you're executing with no plan, you're just doing nilly-willy whatever, and whatever comes to your mind is what you do. Those are people who find themselves doing a little bit of everything. When you think about how you are going to execute, you have to start with the strategy. So all of these steps are building on each other. The first thing is you have to do what you should have been doing all along. You've got to go hard. You've got to go hard. Just remember that in fourth quarter, the time is not on your side. The second thing that you have to do is you have to assess. You have to determine where you are. Once you determine where you are, you need to strategize how you are going to finish out and hit your goals, how you're going to get your marketing together, get your branding together, get your products that you're going to sell together, get your services that you're going to sell together, get your pricing in alignment with your target market. Think about what types of sales, discounts, specials, bundles. How are you going to put all these things together specifically to address the largest, shopping season that we have, right? Which is the holiday season. How are you going to do that? How are you going to make that happen? And then you've got to be disciplined and execute, and be disciplined at a time that it's really hard to be disciplined. Be disciplined at a time when you might not want to go outside because the weather is cooled down. And you already know we already got some snow out here in Colorado. That was just weird. But it's going to be snowing outside, or it might be raining outside, or in other parts of the country, it might be cold. I can't come to Detroit in the wintertime. I will take a Colorado winter over a Detroit winter any year. But it's like bone chilling cold out there. What happens when you've got to go out and make deliveries, or what happens when you've got to go out and pick up supplies? What happens when you've got to make it into your storefront on time to get the doors open? What happens when you've got to make sure that you get in there and answer those emails? What happens when it's time for you to make these moves, right? You've got to discipline yourself. So I wanted to share this information, just kind of thinking about what this looks like. We have some other amazing Black Dollar Saturdays lined up for you to finish out the year strong. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be diving into making sure that you're set up electronically, getting your online stuff together for some of you. We also want to make sure that we're addressing what our health and wellness looks like at this time, especially as I mentioned so many times, like this year has just been tough. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who have lost someone, who have been sick themselves, who have lost business. Many people who have lost their full-time, gig that they had, and it's heartbreaking. And it's gut-wrenching. And I don't say that lightly. I say that as somebody who has sat here and listened to the stories and have tried to be encouraging, and also thinking about what do we need to do as a community, and how do I play my part in making sure that we move forward as a community, because we have been thrust into this new era, and we're not going back to the way things used to be. And so for our businesses, how do we take this momentum, not just from ourselves personally, but as a community? How do we take this momentum and move ourselves forward in ways that we have never moved ourselves forward before? I think that we have an opportunity unlike what we've ever seen, but we've also had to push through a lot of pain and struggle that our generation has not had to push through and has not had to live through. So in acknowledging that, I just want to close out today to say, that we've got a long road ahead of us, and it's going to take us as a community to rally together, to support each other, but also to get through some of the fear and get through some of the anxiety of what it's going to look like in order for us to move into some of these new spaces that we most certainly would have to move into in order for us to be successful. So 2021 is coming. It's been a long 2020, but it doesn't matter what year it is. It doesn't matter how hard it's been or how great it's going. When fourth quarter comes, it's time for you to go. And I hope that these 4 steps will help you think about how you're going to move into the next quarter in a way that is going to be beneficial to you and your legacy. So that is all I got for y'all today. Y'all know what it is. It has been a Black Dollar Saturday, and we will see you next month for Black Dollar Saturday on, what date is that? That is going to be October the 17th. All right. So mark your calendars, Black Dollar Saturday. We can't wait to get back with y'all in person whenever we're able to meet again and be down there at the Cultural Center. We love the energy that's there, and we're excited at some point when we're able to get back. But until then, we'll be here virtually to continue to support the community. All right.